Emotional abuse often hides in plain sight. It doesn't leave bruises on the skin, but buries wounds deep inside the mind, where they can linger and poison for years. One of the most devastating tools of psychological manipulation is gaslighting, a tactic designed to make you question your reality. Among all the forms of gaslighting, there is one phrase, one threat, one deeply cutting weapon that strips away your voice, your confidence, and your sense of self. No one is going to believe you. This video explores the profound damage caused by this form of gaslighting, particularly in relationships with narcissistic or manipulative individuals. It breaks down how this tactic works, why it's so powerful, and what can be done to heal and reclaim your voice. The goal is not only to validate the experience of survivors, but to offer clarity, empowerment, and direction. The nature of covert emotional abuse. Emotional abuse doesn't always look abusive. Many perpetrators are charming, intelligent, even generous in the public eye. They might be respected professionals, devoted parents, or admired community members. Their charm is intentional, part of a carefully constructed mask. Behind closed doors, they manipulate, intimidate, and distort. They create an alternate reality where their victim feels increasingly uncertain, confused, and emotionally trapped. Gaslighting is their most effective tool, and the phrase, "No one is going to believe you," becomes both a threat and a prophecy. This statement doesn't just deny your experience. It attacks your credibility, isolates you from support, and positions the abuser as the ultimate authority on what is real. In essence, it becomes a psychological prison. How this tactic dismantles the psyche. Hearing, "No one will believe you," plants a seed of doubt that grows into isolation and self-silencing. This manipulation undermines your most basic instincts to seek help or even speak out. You begin to question not only what happened, but whether it matters, or whether you even deserve to be heard. In relationships defined by gaslighting, the line between truth and falsehood becomes blurred. You might start documenting conversations, replaying interactions, even bringing concerns to therapists, only to feel more confused and lost. If the therapist or confidant doesn't understand narcissistic abuse, the damage can be amplified further. You might be dismissed, told you're overreacting, or encouraged to see the good in the abuser. Over time, the internal voice that once warned of danger grows faint. The fear of not being believed becomes a muzzle, and in that silence, the abuse escalates. Why it feels so believable. This form of gaslighting is particularly cruel because, on the surface, it often seems true. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse hear echoes of this message from well-meaning outsiders. Phrases like, "That doesn't sound like something they'd do. I've never had a problem with them. You sure you're not taking it the wrong way?" These responses reinforce the isolation. And when the abuser is someone admired or powerful, it becomes even harder to feel seen or supported. The mask they wear in public is convincing, sometimes even admirable, but it's not the whole truth. For someone already questioning their sanity or worth, these reactions confirm the fear. Maybe no one will believe, and that fear becomes a cage. The emotional consequences. Living under the weight of disbelief leaves deep emotional scars. Survivors often experience chronic self-doubt, constantly questioning your memory, your judgment, your perceptions, isolation, withdrawing from friends, family, or community out of fear or shame, anxiety and hypervigilance, waiting for the next manipulation or denial, depression and helplessness, feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally erased. This particular form of gaslighting doesn't just distort reality. It erodes identity. It turns a person into a shadow of themselves, unsure of their own voice, reluctant to trust anyone. Why it's so common in narcissistic relationships. Narcissistic individuals are masters of image management. Their need for admiration means they work hard to appear successful, likable, or even virtuous. But behind closed doors, their behavior can be cold, controlling, and abusive. Because they are so skilled at manipulating how others see them, they know how easy it is to discredit someone who challenges their version of the truth. That's what makes "no one is going to believe you" such a strategic attack. It protects their image while destroying your sense of reality. They understand the social dynamics at play. They know how credibility works. They often hold more social power than their victim. And when they say, "no one will believe you," it's not just manipulation, it's calculation. The impact on long-term healing. For many survivors, the damage doesn't end when the relationship does. The legacy of this gaslighting tactic can linger for years. Even after leaving, you might find it hard to speak about what happened. You may second-guess your own story, soften the details, or leave things out entirely, afraid that others won't understand or will dismiss your pain. This is especially true when you've lost support systems along the way. Friends who believed the abuser's public persona, family members who thought you were exaggerating, professionals who minimized your concerns. Healing from this kind of manipulation requires more than time. It requires active reconnection with your truth. It requires learning to trust your own voice again. Rebuilding your inner reality. Escaping the grip of emotional abuse begins with naming what happened. When you can identify this phrase, "no one is going to believe you," as an abusive tactic, it loses some of its power. It no longer becomes a reflection of your worth, but a tool your abuser used to silence and control. Survivors who heal begin to validate their experiences, even if others don't understand. Reconnect with safe and informed support, especially professionals trained in emotional abuse and narcissistic relationships. Document their truth, whether through writing, therapy, or trusted conversation. Set new boundaries, not just with others, but internally, refusing to doubt yourself on command. Reclaim language, using words like abuse, manipulation, control, not just toxic or complicated. This journey doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage. But every time you name the abuse, every time you speak even a small piece of the truth, you chip away at the silence that once controlled you. What empowerment looks like after gaslighting. To break free is not only to escape the person, it's to escape the narrative they planted in your mind. Empowerment looks like reclaiming the voice that was taken. It looks like trusting yourself, even when others don't immediately see the full picture. You don't need permission to believe your experience. You don't need evidence that convinces everyone. You don't need the abuser's confession or the crowd's approval. What you lived was real. The damage was real. And so is your path to healing. The phrase, "no one is going to believe you," was never the truth. It was a trap, a deeply cruel, strategic lie, told by someone who feared your truth. Speaking it anyway is one of the bravest things a person can do. Closing thoughts, from silence to strength. There are wounds that words leave behind, and few are more painful than being silenced, especially by someone who pretends to care. But the truth is, what happened to you matters. Your voice matters. And even if the world is slow to listen, that doesn't make your story less true. You deserve support that sees you. You deserve healing that holds you. And most of all, you deserve to believe yourself, even when others don't. Healing doesn't always start with being believed. It often starts with believing yourself.